My turn now, guys. Yay. Randy, what are you snacking on? I want to know.
Mm, it's my Chipotle bowl.
Everyone's always
Yeah.
at Chipotle.
I do like the Chipotle bowl though. Like that's the go-to
Mm-hmm.
item. Like I don't do a burrito anymore. It's like as much shit as you
Mm-mm.
can put in the bowl.
And they
Yeah,
do.
exactly.
You
Yeah.
and I order it of like such a specific way.
Did y'all
So
see all
my
that
bowls.
bullshit about the CEO? Like that was all like about the asking for extra like things because people were upset about them skimping or something.
Oh, what did he say?
Did you see? Oh, it was just like the CEO was just like this weird dude, like a newish CEO to Chipotle, and he was like, "Oh, like, if you, you're entitled to as much as you want. Like if you see that they put like meat and you don't think it's enough, you just give them a little and does this weird fucking gesture, and is like you just like you're kind of gesturing like a
I
little
love how
more,
you
like
also
that's
look
what's
like you
implied,
are
but it was
so
so
stiff.
fucking awkward and weird.
I do.
Everyone was making fun of him on the internet for it.
I go to
This is a
Chipotle.
man who's never
Oh,
gone to Chipotle.
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah,
He's a
clearly.
man that's like,
But
what would someone do in that situation?
Mhm.
he was like, "Come on, buddy, just a little more." Like,
mhm.
yeah, you should look up that guy if you haven't seen him because like you will find the clip. It's like easy to, it's all over the internet.
It's giving billionaires are people too.
I don't know. I don't have any qualms. I don't have any issues about being like, no. I'm sorry. I will literally go, I'm sorry. That was not the full scoop. Will you finish putting the rest of that spoon on my bowl, please? And I'll
The
stand there.
spoon is still full. I can see it from
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
feel
and
like I usually have to
sometimes
ask for light rice because if you don't do that, they're gonna just like they throw a decent amount of rice in there. It's like boom, like just a bunch. So I always have to be
It's
like
like
light
shaking the
rice.
building
you know what is so
more.
funny? I get the opposite. I'm the
Oh,
extra rice. I
well, I
go in
want
and
more of
I'm
the
like,
other shit in it, so I'm like, like light rice.
oh no. I'm telling you, I want the rice to be 3/4 of the way, and then I want you to pile. I don't
Oh, so
want
like barely fit the top on, kind
yes.
of. Oh,
And I swear to God, that is how I leave Greg.
dude,
I'm
when I
like,
worked, you know what? When I worked at Subway in high school, I had this buddy who was like a bodybuilder, weightlifter dude named Jose, who would like come in every time, like it was after his workout, he would get 2 foot-long veggie subs on wheat, and it was like just grab 2 giant handfuls of each vegetable and just put them on there, right? For each one. Like I had to like triple wrap each sandwich to close it because it was basically just like a whole salad inside the bun and on top of it.
yeah, that's my kind of fucking order. I love that.
That was Jose's his regular order at Subway. I've never tried to do an eating competition, but I feel like there's a couple things that I'm like, I could probably give that a shot.
I
I have
think that's what
never I have never looked at an eating competition and been like,
Dude,
yeah,
so there's
I could
actually a
do
guy
this.
in my department who's like an early modern, like he does Renaissance and Reformation Germany. Like that's his specialty. And he's won like 3 hot dog eating contests. Like his record is like 24 in like the period of time or something.
That's legitimately, I am impressed
That's
by
which
people.
is
I
wild because like
am,
you wouldn't expect it
yeah.
of him, but he's like the kids apparently like I think it was this last year like brought a bunch like they brought him like 5 to see like just time how quickly he could eat them, and he was like it was like 20 seconds like because he just went for it and like killed 5 hot dogs.
20 seconds, Greg.
Yeah.
All right, so I am going to talk about medical cadavers. Mostly because I read this book. I told this to Randy an hour ago. It's called Stiff by Mary Roach, and it is honestly so fascinating. It's the curious lives of human cadavers, and it talks about everything. A lot of different things can happen to the human body after people die. It's not just cremation and burial. There's like a lot of different ways to do things with the body. I don't know.
This is kind of like if you donate your body to science,
Yeah,
I think.
so I'm gonna talk about that, but what, Randy?
I was just gonna say. That is what I'm doing. I would specifically want to go to the murder farm in like
Oh,
Virginia
that
or
would be
something.
so cool. It's
Do you know
crazy.
which one I'm talking about,
Yeah.
Karina?
Where they just
Yeah.
I
like
don't know
leave
what you're
bodies in
talking
different
about.
conditions.
Yes. So what they do basically, Greg, is
So
all
this is
for
a real place,
yeah,
like
it's all for
okay.
forensic scientists, and they put bodies in different conditions, like they put them in water or exposed or under brush, or they freeze them first and then let them out. But they do all of this so that they can use what happens to those bodies to help them identify um different ways of disposal for murders, and it's actually helped them solve murders because they're able to like better estimate a time of death because of it. Anyway, I just really would love knowing that my body helped solve someone's murder after I'm gone. That one just really gets me.
Well, so like I've seen that meme going around where it's like, someone finds out that like his parent, like mother who died, like donated the body to science, like that it had been like just blown up as part of a test program or something. Like have you seen that meme?
No.
I mean,
I've
but
And
seen
I
it
don't
that
care.
sometimes.
is
I'm
a
fine with it.
use.
Whatever you need to
Yeah,
do.
but like, in that case, like I kind of understand it if like, if it was for a place like this where they're like, we need to see what happens when if like someone explodes, to test
Hmm.
that and see like all that shit.
Well, what would you rather be tested on? You alive or like someone who has passed away who gives permission
I feel like
to
that's a fair
use your
use of the
body? Like
bodies.
I
Hmm.
think it
Like
is because I
I
would
feel like
rather
that's
you
that
know
supports a
what
good
it does to
cause.
me. Yeah. I'm not
Yeah.
in here. You can do what you want to this.
Hmm. Hmm. Also organ donor. So it's
Mhm.
all documented,
Same.
guys. If anything
It's in
happens
writing.
to me, this is my this is my will.
Anywho, I'm gonna get started because I have a lot of notes.
Okay.
So, when I was in high school, we went to a local university that allowed us to view human cadavers that were used for their local medical program. My high school wasn't like a normal high school. It had like these little programs where you were a little more focused in whatever career path you wanted to do. So that
I
we
taught
had
at a
like,
high school that
yeah,
had or like a district that had that at the different high schools
yeah.
actually.
So,
Because they had multiple high schools. So you
right.
could pick like the high school based on the program you wanted to do.
So I was in the medical academy. So we went to like the local university that had this program, right? I feel like it really prepared me, honestly, for my future endeavors. Like it really did prepare me for college. But anywho, that's neither here nor there. So I get there and I'm like this teenager looking at this person and their stomach is open and they're no longer alive and I can see their organs, right? And all you can think about is like, this was a person. This is a human
Hmm.
being. And I, like we do have to do that little disassociation to like pretend, like think about it was like just a body, but it's like it is still a person. And it is like a hard thing to kind of process when you're actually looking at it. I think talking about it is different than when you're looking at it. But anywho. So it is part of modern day medical education to use human cadavers as educational tools to understand and visualize the construction of the body. And that just makes sense. If people can volunteer to give their bodies to science, and this is a use for that, for like that gift. Although we like to think otherwise, modern medicine in the way that we understand it is relatively a new concept. Like this is the going to school and being educated before you start cutting people up is pretty new. The oldest surgery known to man occurred approximately 31,000 years ago, and it was a leg amputation performed on a child. The oldest type of practice surgery was trepanation, the drilling or scraping of a hole into the skull, which dates back to 6500 BCE. And this would happen if like someone had a lot of pressure in their head to just relieve that pressure. Really early surgeries after that time primarily consisted of doing amputations or tooth pulling. Surgeons at this time were like the same level of, like, they were like the barbers who were also cutting people up and pulling teeth out. Like, they just did anything that you had to do. Like, you didn't have to know much. And I read in one of the accounts, which, warning to future episodes, I found a book about the horrors of surgery and Dr. Lister. So we're going to talk about that at some point.
I
Great.
think, did I tell you all about that
Blech.
bit that I read in the diary about like the treatment for the guy's foot?
Yes, and it was like put some manure on it and make up
Yeah,
another
like
poultice of
I
manure
mean like
and
that was something Brooke was like she was like you need to like tell them if you haven't. And I was like I'm pretty sure I did, but like before, but like, medical science at the time wasn't like, you know, what we think of today at all, like we've come a long way.
it wasn't until the 1800s where schools were established to officially educate those who had enough money to go to school regardless of their actual capabilities. The first operations under ether, so like kind of a sedative where people would forget or at least be a little chill through the experience, didn't take place until 1846. Before this, patients would just be bound to the table with a blindfold on, maybe, and just held down really, really well. Good luck. Randy, that is Randy's like, this is not the plan for surgery that I want for myself.
Well, I know sometimes they would actually have to knock them out because they were moving too much.
Yeah,
So they just
like
Like just whack them over the head, like
beat the
just
shit
till
out
they
of them.
pass out.
Yeah, or give them alcohol, I guess.
like honestly, Greg, I don't know for sure, but that feels real right for that. I mean, doesn't
I mean,
it? It
if there's
feels real
no
right.
anesthetic, like I would,
I'd rather you beat the sh like beat me to
oh,
unconsciousness.
but it's like the diary that I'm reading is like littered with all these little references to like, oh, like using this particular like mayweed to treat, dysentery and stuff like that. Like I've actually like made little notes and like marked a bunch of these little excerpts that I come across. So like it's really interesting when you think of like folk medicine, like how people got by, before we have modern medicine, where it's like figuring out what works and what doesn't.
If I had the brain capabilities to do it, I think it would be interesting to look at different times and see the way different indigenous cultures and the way different European cultures treated the same illnesses. I think that would be super interesting to kind of see the science behind that and like the different ways that they kind of tackled the same thing.
I think it's hilarious now that the white way to tackle it is just the co-opting of indigenous practices anyway. You know,
At this
now,
point, we're just going back to indigenous practices.
yeah,
Yeah.
now
They're like, actually, that was a reason for it.
holistic medicine is so expensive now. Like, you are the ones who gave everyone cancer because you wanted to get rid of dandelions, and now you know that dandelions can be made in a tea for medicine, and suddenly we're like,
And we like dandelions now.
and are bad about the cancer.
But also, who brought over the dandelions?
What do you mean?
I mean, I'm curious. I know dandelions are an invasive
Oh,
species. So who
there's
brought them
actually a
over?
history article called Empire of the Dandelion. I had to read that in grad school actually, and it's about how like indigenous people like they spread news like into the continent to the point where like by like later when like Europeans are starting to come into like the plains area and stuff like that, they knew that like if like dandelions and like honeybees started to be seen, that it meant the Europeans were coming because it came with like the animals and shit like that they brought over. I
So
also
the
had to read an article
Europeans
about how hogs are also like an imperialist animal because they just go in and take over. I mean, like literally, like they're
Mhm.
fucking hard to kill and they multiply like crazy, and that's why there's a shit ton of them in Arkansas.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're
the wild
taking
horse.
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
the like I think we've talked about before, like the Spanish would just like throw some hogs onto an island to be like next time we come by here, the island's gonna be full. Like we have accounts of that, like in Spanish
Isn't that how
exploration.
the Bahama thing happened? That like pig beach or whatever?
It would have to be. I mean, like they would be the ones to introduce them.
I could see white people just bringing fucking hogs to the beach and being like, just leave them.
Yeah,
They'll take
yet
care of
again,
themselves.
not thinking of the long-term implications
Yeah.
hundreds of years
They won't
later
be there,
that
Randy. It doesn't matter to them.
But when you think about like farming culture back then, like I mean, I read about it all the time. Like everyone had fucking hogs. Like you raised pigs because they were just easy to raise and like butcher and eat. Like it's the most common animal for them to eat.
The
butcher like
hogs.
Karina's cadavers.
Hogs,
Oh
yeah.
God, Randy. Randi. Anywho, speaking of cadavers, although we like to think otherwise, most surgeons today really get a lot of on-the-job training. I think a lot of us like to think that doctors show up to medical, like to the residencies with a lot more experience than they do, but they made it through medical school, and that's about it. Viewing many surgeries before getting the chance to perform procedures themselves, that's kind of how it goes. You watch a few of them, and then they're like, "Would you like to stitch a thing?" And then they do a little more, and they're like, "Would you like to stitch more things and cut some of them?" Anyway, so you learn on the job. So that is one of the gifts of medical donation is that you can practice on the act like an actual human body and kind of see how it really is the layout looks. And also, another reason to use uh dead people, according to Book Stiff, is that cadavers are able to do what human bodies cannot while going through superhero levels of trauma. You can shoot them, run them over, cut their heads off without the threat of hurting them. And you really can. And that is one of the things about medical donation is that a lot of these, and she talks about it a lot. Mary Roach really goes in depth into these medical trials that she talks about in her books. But in this one, she talks about how um, like plastic surgeons practice on just decapitated heads, and it's just like a head in a pan that you're having to cut open and practice different surgeries on. And one of the people that was interviewed about this said that one of the worst things to work on was hands because you're just kind of holding
Ugh,
a decapitated hand.
ugh.
You know what I
I
mean?
see y'all both had to have dissected things, like getting
Yeah,
degrees and stuff, right?
I
I've never
don't have
dissected
any.
something. We didn't do it when I was in high school because I had terrible science teachers.
Oh,
because I had terrible
No,
science
except for
teacher.
one. No, I will say that. Like, if I'm putting it out there in the world, Miss Kemp, my biology teacher, was great, but the other ones were not good.
we dissected a pregnant pig and many parts of a lamb. Like we would dissect specific, like the lamb's eyeball. Like everyone in class would get a lamb eyeball, or
In
we would
college or
do.
in high school?
We did the lamb parts in middle school. I
Oh,
did the.
wow.
hmm We started dissection at private school. We started dissection in the eighth grade. I did my first dissection before that because I was a fucking science nerd and my family had already gotten me a dissecting kit.
Not
What every
surprised.
5-year-old wants, right? Like,
I
As a
was
person
like
who's met
probably
Randy on
10. I
brand.
was probably 10,
Hmm.
10. It was a frog dissection kit.
Of course.
did it come with a dead frog?
It came with a skeleton that you could either, I mean, in an ideal scenario, I would have caught a frog, but it came with like the skeleton and all the stuff like packaged, and you would put like this. You basically, because it was dried up, what you did was you re-skinned it, kind of. You know what I mean? Like it was just this this little package, and then you would like put this stuff in that was like meant to be the gut, not the guts because that was all in there, but like the outside skin. So you'd actually have something to cut through. Whatever that part is in a frog. I'm like not even thinking
That's
what it is because
wild.
it's not exactly fat, but yeah, so you had to like put that whole layer around it so that you can then dissect it. It was
That's
great.
wild.
Randy,
I
you
loved
have to
it.
construct before you can dissect.
Uh-huh.
I honestly, that was when I first was like, oh, maybe I really could do become a doctor because in eighth grade, my teacher was like, you have such incredibly steady hands when we were doing the dissecting. She was like, you have very, very clean cuts. And I was like, ooh, like I didn't think that that would be a compliment that like made me feel good, but that one really that one really worked for me.
When I was in nursing school, I was into, what is it called? Grey's Anatomy. So I was like really into the idea of becoming a surgeon. And so I think that would have been like my highlight. But but I am also going like hearing you talk about Randy, all I can think about is that initial cut through like the skin, and I'm like, what? I'm not
No,
meant to be
I
doing
don't
no
have any.
cutting. Mm-mm.
I don't
So
have
I
a problem with it on animals whenever we did it on animals. I have never cut a human, so I don't know that
okay, yeah.
I don't
I've
Like
know what
watched a
that
lot
would
of
be like.
surgeries. I don't.
so I'm
Not
sure
for me.
I think I told you, Karina, I started out college as a nursing major because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I changed to history. But like part of the thing was like, I was like, I don't really I was in this anatomy class and like the lecture part was 8 a.m. and it was the guy just got up there and was like he would just read in this very monotone voice and like, just go on like literally just like mumble read through his
That's
notes.
awful.
And then
That is
like you had
awful.
all these super hard tests where it was like 100 question tests that you had to complete and everything. And everyone was like, it sucks, it's terrible, like it's an awful class. And then I go to the lab and it's like, we're going to be dissecting cats this year. And I was like, I don't think I want to do this. And I changed my major.
We
I
did
was
a
like,
cat.
so I can
We did a
respect people.
cat.
Like, I mean, there's things that I'm really into. So like I can respect it. I'm just like, it's not my thing.
Yeah, it really isn't for everyone. I don't know why I enjoyed it, but I
I
did.
think that's cool though.
Randy, I don't know
You
why
know?
I would do that.
I don't know why I would enjoy it. Like I I think it's good not to be squeamish, but I don't know
Do
why.
surgeons today have to cut like do like you use the cadavers? Like is that like
Hmm.
a thing you go through as a surgeon is like doing all the
Yeah.
practice on
Yeah.
cadavers?
So like when I chose to go to BU, the main reason why I chose to go to BU was because I wanted to, after you can either come in that way, but you can also transfer into this program that gave you 2 years of like very specialized training and basically shot you right into medical school afterward. But in the building that they did all of their classes. It was like this public health building. In the basement, it was a cadaver lab. And so like all of the students that were in that program going directly into med school started their cadaver work at BU as an undergrad.
Oh wow. Like that was like one of the places you go if like you
Yeah.
want to get there. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, it makes sense though, because like when I think about it, like to be able to do all this like fine minute shit or do it with like the control, like the now with like the probes and shit, like I could see how you have to dissociate and just like just be like, I have to just zone out and like do this shit?
Perfect, Greg, because that goes into my next point.
Yes.
Even today, when doctors learn procedures and surgeries, or even just learn overall anatomy. So when I went to see this cadaver lab in when I was in high school, it was for the nursing students. So it's like for the nursing academy, right? Like the in the college, and that's who used it, and that but we got to see it. And it's like if even the nursing students use it, I'm assuming that all or most medical labs use it. And I think in Arkansas, it's like Little Rock has a cadaver lab, and it's the one of the schools in Northwest Arkansas that has a cadaver lab, but it's I don't think it's a lot of schools in Northwest Arkansas. And then who knows now with all the cuts that they've done recently. But anywho. But in order to get through a lot of those moments, because I mean, it's hard to dissect a cat. Imagine a person, our hand, a face.
I like cats a lot, and that was part of the reason why I was like,
Right.
I really don't want to cut up a cat. Like I had a pet cat at home at that point.
It's too much too soon.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have to do objectification where you think of them kind of more as objects and less as people. And that's a little easier to do with a person who is no longer living because they look a little bit different sometimes. This is a skill mastered in the first few years of medical school in gross anatomy lab. It helps you depersonalize the human form. Students are typically encouraged to cover everything in gauze and unwrap the parts one at a time. Dissection and surgical instruction require a carefully maintained set of illusion and denial. Cadavers are wholly unrelated to the people they once were, so it's like you're just trying to look at a person kind of as pieces instead of like that whole being. Although death, as in dying of our friends and family, is hard and heartbreaking, the already dead are a whole other story. Like if you just saw a dead body, like you would be uncomfortable, but you wouldn't feel that as much emotion, right? Cadavers are typically strangers, but not always. I'm sure somebody out there has had a surprise when they are going to their medical lab and they have found someone that they know. Um, but typically, it is strangers that you're using during medical training. The most unsettling body parts have to be the faces, though. In medical anatomy lab, they would often leave the head and hands wrapped until their dissection comes up because that's kind of how you see a person. Hands are like, those belong to people, and faces, like, that's definitely a human being. You know, you got eyebrows, eyes, face, whatever. But what is the history of people using dead bodies for education? In 300 BCE, King Ptolemy I, a king of Alexandrian Egypt, was the first leader to make it legal to use dead bodies for figuring out how the body works. During this time, Egypt was mummifying their dead, so bodies were cut up and cut open, organs removed during the mummification process. So it was something that the population was already comfortable with, like this manipulation of a dead person. The king decreed that physicians were encouraged to dissect executed criminals, but King Ptolemy himself was fascinated with dissection, so he also joined in, along with the physicians. I kind of feel like King Ptolemy himself was like, I too would like to cut into people, so I'm gonna make it legal so it's nobody thinks it's weird. You know, he's like, if I announce that it's cool, no one will think anything creepy about it. The first physician to dissect human bodies that we know of is Herophilus, the father of anatomy. But he got too excited and began dissecting live criminals. Randy.
Literally too excited. He got too
It
excited.
was
I'm
too
like,
much.
boy,
Too
calm
much.
down.
Calm down. I one of his like one
Relax.
of his people that doesn't like him was like he dissected like 600 people alive.
That's a
Like
lot of people.
yeah, like
Like when you think about
he
it.
yeah, but people were but the book is like I don't know, I'm taking it with a grain of salt because that guy really hated him. So it really isn't until the 18th and 19th century when we start these schools and the schools start to get full and people are like, we're going to college now. This is what we do. And with the increase of schools, it's the increase of we need bodies to dissect. So it starts to strain the limited supply of executed criminals. So at this point, you're just using dead people that are criminals anyway, so they have no rights. So there's more schools, there's not enough cadavers. What do you do? What do we do, guys? Because nobody donates their bodies to science. And also, people had the religious belief that if their dead body was not intact, they would not be able to resurrect in heaven.
I guess you take the criminals because you're like, fuck them, you
Yeah,
know?
fuck them criminals. Or, oh, until the Anatomy Act in 1860. Sorry, these notes are from a long time ago. So, past Karina did me a solid and did all my notes for today's episode. So, she just wrote 186. But anywho, the Anatomy Act of 1806. I guess I could Google this. Where's the internet? Hold on, guys. Yeah, it
You need like the elevator hold, or like the telephone, like hold music while you're looking it up.
Jeopardy?
Yeah.
Because really, you're on a timer, girl.
the Anatomy Act of 1832 was an act of the UK Parliament that granted licensed physicians, teachers, and medical students legal access to dissect human bodies.
Yeah,
It's
there's no six.
So that
And
was
the
what,
I
18,
reason,
wrote
that was, did you say 1836?
it's 1832.
1832. Well, okay, let's see if that proves my point. Like 1830 is when Britain was like, we're going to like end slavery in the empire, like in like the Caribbean and stuff, like in the empire. That was only 2 years later that they were like, all right, let's do this, to
I
put
guess
that
we
in
could just start
perspective.
cutting people open.
Like we freed the like now that we freed enslaved people, we can start cutting dead bodies up.
the the live bodies of the formerly enslaved people, though, were probably the ones that were being used for that
Right, but
Oh, I
not in
bet there's
Britain
600.
some history
because,
to that
but not
too.
technically in Britain because they weren't.
Oh, and that actually plays into this whole British idea of like there's never been a slave on British soil because like they freed the surfs and stuff like that. But it's like, totally cool out in other places.
It's cool if it was just colonized land, I guess.
Yeah, if it's those islands over there, that's fine, but not like at home in Britain.
Yes. But the Anatomy Act of 1832 was passed, and only the cadavers of executed criminals were allowed to be used for dissection. And dissection was thought of as a punishment worse than death because, like we said earlier, if your body's not intact, you can't make it to heaven. So if you're like, not only are you not making it to heaven because you're like a criminal and you're dead, but like your body is separated. Dissection was mandated for all murderers post execution as an alternative. Oh my God, Karina, as an alternative to gibbeting. Why would I do this to myself? Gibbeting is where a body is dipped in tar and suspended in an iron cage in the view of a town while it rots and birds peck at it. Ugh. Anyway, so in the beginning, medical schools were the type of place where you could. Mm, I did this to myself. I didn't read through these messages. Where you could take your son's amputated legs and sell it for beer money.
Your sons?
Yeah, like like
Like
let's
if your
say
son got his legs amputated, you could be like,
you could
well,
sell it to the
at
medical
least there's beer
school,
money.
37.50. It
All I'm
literally
thinking is
happened in
Tiny Tim,
1831.
right? This is like Tiny Tim
Like
era.
if Tiny Tim had
Tiny
leg
Tim
had to
is
be
the reason why they
amputated.
got a turkey that year.
Yeah, he
Tiny
could he could have
Tim.
been like, well, it's turkey money.
Right. So you can sell the body parts if you are really needing it to the medical schools. It literally happened in 1831 in Rochester, New York. But also,
Oh,
the body is more than arms.
58 miles.
Randy, if it was 1831, you had
Literally
so
say
many
that fact again. I'm
possibilities.
gonna start saying that to everyone I meet from Rochester. Did you know?
That in 1831, someone sold their son's amputated leg for beer money. They gave him 37.5 cents
I am
because
gonna
it's
be exact
1831.
with
So,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
37.5 cents. Anywho, but the thing is, when you're going to school, the body is more. Like, if I'm going to the doctor, I have more than just arms and legs. So I can't just be working on, donation legs. So the American British hospitals had to figure out how to get like a full person or risk losing their students to anatomy schools in Paris where they used unclaimed corpses for the poor that just died in city hospitals. So if you didn't have any family that came and said, "This is my next of kin," you're ready to be dissected. The 17th century surgeon anatomist William Harvey, who discovered the human circulatory system, was so invested in learning about the human body that he dissected both his father and sister because the idea of stealing a corpse or giving up on his research was unacceptable to him.
I was gonna say, like when you were talking earlier, the grave robbing historically has been a thing. Like people dig bodies up to sell them for this kind of shit.
That's where I was alluding to, Greg. You
Yeah.
got to get your body somewhere. And if you have to learn, like I said, okay, France is getting their bodies from the people that have no family that came in time. What can the British do? The concept of sneaking into a graveyard and stealing someone's family member to study became the norm. It was known as body snatching, which is completely distinct. It's different from grave robbing, where you rob the jewels and heirlooms buried in the tombs and crypts. That's different than taking the body.
Depends what you're after, right? Like what we call you.
I mean, you could be doing both at the same time, but they are two different activities. If you
Man,
get,
imagine being the one that digs the second time.
you have to pick where am I going to the
You're
medical
you're
school
you're
or
like,
the
oh
pawn
god
shop?
damn it, it's another one that's stripped. Like it's
Like just imagine you're both on one side, right? Like you're both looking for that body snatching moment. Imagine digging that grave the second time. I'd have been pissed.
Yeah, it's like already been claimed. I have to go to the medical school now.
Well, I just dug 6 feet for fuck nothing.
Every
That's like,
time I read,
goddamn, this is 10 cents. It's not 30 cents. Fuck.
I'm gonna remind you, all of the stuff that I'm getting is from this book, Stiff by Mary Roach. Okay? It's all just chapter two. Everything I'm giving you is just chapter two. That's
Yeah,
all
I'm
I'm
getting
saying.
this book in the book exchange, Karina. It's my turn. Drop
You
it in
want
my
it? You
bag.
want the one with the
I do.
notations?
I
You
surely
know,
do.
like you're making a really solid pitch for reading the book.
It's so
So
freaking.
I'm reading Dungeon Crawler Carl right now, but like I might pick that one up after that, you
I'm
know?
not saying if you join the book club that you will get a lot of really intriguing and thought-provoking brain thinking books, but you will, and you will learn so much. I always think about sand on a regular basis. Anywho, so if you get caught in the possession of a corpse jewelry, so if people find out that you took like grandma's jewelry, that's a crime. But if you get caught with a corpse and the corpse has no jewelry, no crime, you're fine. No crime, you're fine. You take your body where you want to, I guess. Before anatomy schools, there were no laws regarding the misappropriation of dead humans. Some anatomy instructors encouraged students to raid graveyards and provide bodies for the class. At certain Scottish schools in the 1700s, the arrangement was more formal because some of us have standards. Tuition could be paid in corpses rather than cash. Some anatomists would go dig up the bodies themselves, while others would pay someone to go digging for them. And thus the job of body snatcher was born. Randy.
I'm just thinking of like if I were doing it. I'm a purist. I'm gonna get my own body.
Well, I was thinking about if I could bust out a convincing like Scottish accent to like do a
Okay,
bit
Greg,
there
try.
about no,
I
whoa, no, hold on.
I
I don't
need
know if it's
this.
gonna be worth making it into the
Okay.
podcast.
It's
So
worth for me to watch it.
I need it.
if
I
if
need this.
if I'm like
It's already a
if
two-part
it's not
episode. I
amazing,
need
don't
this.
put it in there. Like if I can put that caveat in there,
Of course, you can
like
always ask, but I do want to watch it.
so it's like I was thinking, I mean, literally, when you said you could pay your tuition in it, right? It's like, well, Sonny, Granny died, so we're sending you to school, something to that effect. I don't know if that was good or not, but
Oh,
Greg, I'm going to tell you something right now. We
gold.
have
That was
we have
fucking
known
gold.
each other for years. This podcast is one of my passion projects and it means the entire world for me. It was worth every ounce of work and all the money I've put into this show for that. Like
okay, all right, all right.
that was worth it. That's staying in. I
I like
loved
doing
it. That
impressions
was
and trying
so
them
good,
sometimes. Like if
Greg.
there's ones that I can do, like all right,
I'm
just
here.
like
I'm here on the behalf of everyone listening because I know they want this for us. We want all the impressions you can think of. If you want to do it, we want to hear it. That was a good one, though. That was gold. But by 1828, London's anatomy schools were so busy that 10 full-time body snatchers and 200 part-time snatchers were kept busy during the season. Anatomy courses were only held between October and May to avoid the stench of super like summertime decomposition. The pay was approximately $1,000 a year, 5 to 10 times the earning of the average unskilled worker with the summers off. So, I mean, it's not a bad gig. People die all the time. But also, can you get smallpox from a dead body? I mean, how recent is a dead body? How long did smallpox live? That is a risk you take. Some viruses live for a really long time. That's all I'm saying. Be careful with your dead body snatching.
See,
Anywho, Randy.
meanwhile, I'm thinking like, God damn, of course they would take a break in the summer. That makes perfect sense. But grave robbing is easier in the summer than it is in the dead of winter. So that's gotta.
oh, just digging. So it's like
Yeah,
harder work in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that's why you're getting that $1,000 a year, Randy. The anatomist.
Honestly, you earn it. At that point, you're earning it.
Mhm. The anatomist wanted freshly dead bodies, so the smell was less of an issue. Teeth were pulled and sold to the dentist to make dentures. I see you, George Washington.
Yeah.
So even if the body they got wasn't good enough for dissection, they could use it for other things. Although the snatching of fresh bodies from the grave was morbid and unsettling, some surgeons slash anatomists would encourage it, stating he must mangle the living if he has not operated on the dead. So it's either I do it on the dead guy or I do it on a live guy, but I'm going to do it on somebody. And that's all the notes that past Karina has for us. But I feel like they were enough. My God, I've already been
That
through
was
enough
really
today.
good.
It was a
Yeah,
Like
lot
I'm
I
of
happy with
trauma.
that.
Yeah, so once again, the last one, but the book is Stiff by Mary Roach. She has written so many. I'm audiobooking her other one that's like, um, I read her book Bonk, which is about like science, medical experiments, and how we learn different things about the human body. Gulp is about how you eat and different scientific experiments on that. So she's really, and she does a lot of work. Like she talks about how she puts her husband through different experiments just for her own research. And I'm like, man, that is a really committed husband.
yeah.
So anywho, that's all for me, but I'm excited to hear what Randy has hidden from us for weeks.
Yep,
Okay,
we're ready.
Randy, it's your turn.
We're ready. Okay. Today, I'm going to be talking about the experimental history of
What?
demonic possession.
Randy,
I love it.
Randy.
I love the commitment.
Well, I
This
wish
is
it would
not what
have.
I thought was gonna come up. I am shook. I am. You're
I
right
know,
to
I told
save
you guys,
this.
I was like, I pivoted so fucking hard.
I I I thought I was the out of pocket one with dead people, but Randy went far and beyond and was like, I'll one up Karina with this one.
I was actually really,
Demons.
really interested when I was doing the research. This is not the one I started on.
Where did you start, Randy?
I started on how we learned about digestion and the man who had a fistula. For those of you who don't know, a fistula is like an opening um in a man's, and this man had the opening right over his stomach. So the someone did experiments on him and would like attach things to a string and drop it into his stomach.
And just see how long it took to go through.
Yes. Yeah, all kinds of things. He did all kinds of fucking experiments on this dude who just had an
Wait,
open,
so
they
this is
called it
just
a
like an
window.
opening? Is this kind of like, and this is really gross, like where the cows just have like the fucking hole in their neck, that they can like dig around in there
Okay, they have holes in their stomachs,
or
Greg.
whatever. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't remember. I've just seen
It's for
cows
the
with holes in
gas.
them, and
Yeah.
the furthest I got
Okay,
was what the fuck
but
was
it is
that?
also for study because
Is that what that's for?
I wanted to be a chicken doctor when I was in high school because as one does. And then I was like, wait a minute. I don't think ethically I can do this. But anywho, yes. So cows have that hole in their stomach. They put it there so that they can study the different like levels of the cow's digestion. Because they do have like the four stomachs. So they have them in
Yeah.
different places so they could open it and be like, that's what it looks like in there. This is what the food does in here.
But when it's not for study, it's most often to relieve pressure in one of the stomachs
Mm-hmm. Because
or
they
to
can die from that,
remove,
Oh,
yes,
oh,
of like
okay.
bloat,
yes,
literally.
Really?
Yeah, they
yes.
get
That's
like,
wild.
don't they explode? Like
We
literally
had
They
explode?
cows for a
basically
bit
on the
when I
inside.
was a kid. Like we had cows in our pasture because we had 14 acres in Texas. But like we didn't really do we were like my dad had them there for a friend or something. So I did not I petted the cows, but they also didn't have holes in them.
Yeah.
Most cows don't, Greg. Most cows don't have holes in them. I actually drove past the university recently and I I realized that all the cows there had holes in their side. Like they had the little
When you're driving
turn
by.
and I was like, ooh. I don't know how I'd feel about that if someone just like installed a fucking
I
like,
kind of love that they're all together having that experience, though.
yeah, they're
I
It's
like,
wouldn't
like
this is
want to
just
be the
normal.
it's
one
like when they
cow.
come to wire your house with the internet and they just like drill a hole through the brick, you know?
Greg,
They're just like, we gotta put that in there.
I know that guy came from Sudden Lake to install the internet, but now I have this hole in my side. Anywho, Randy, tell us about possession.
Yes, demonic possession. Okay, so one of the things that I'm found immensely interesting about this is that demonic possession has been around since literally forever. Since we've been keeping records, people have been inhabited by spirits. Okay. And it is a really surprisingly common belief amongst people. So, in a study of 488 different cultures from around the world, over 74% had some sort of possession or like spirit takeover situation um in in their belief system. 74%. So that's like 361 of these had possession in them. Today, like modern day, that number sits about roughly 50% of Americans believe in possession, which I'm going to be really honest, was very high in my opinion. I was surprised by that fact because I feel like
Feel
we
like
have
one
moved.
in two people that you meet like believes that this is
Yeah,
real.
yes, believes that possession is possible, which I think is really interesting. It either tells me that just the entire Bible Belt answered yes to that, you know, like they were
They're like,
like,
absolutely.
I'm going down with
Well,
this.
can't say no to the demons, you know, like
Or there was like this really interesting article that I read as a part of this research that basically stated that the more exposure or suggestion that a possession was possible, even if a person originally like went into it viewing that possession was not like was an improbable situation. Every exposure to an instance of it caused them to think it was more possible. So like every movie that they saw was like a study done in 2000. So like respondents were exposed to different
horror movies about like The
yeah.
Exorcist and shit.
Yeah. Or like yes, like people's based on a true story experiences
Like The
of
Conjuring,
exorcisms.
like that
Yeah.
couple, like the couple that it's like
Yeah.
based on and stuff.
Yeah. So even people who were like, oh, this isn't a, not an this is not a possible situation. When they were exposed to that afterward, they found like when answering questions that it had moved to slightly more probable. Not that it was suddenly a like not like they flipped a switch and were like, okay, this is 100%. But I just thought that was really interesting.
So
50%.
that's wild to me because like I love like I really like that style of horror movie. Like it still freaks me out sometimes when I see a
Hmm.
good one. So like I just like horror in general, but I'm like I like a good possession movie or you know like the original Insidious was like pretty good, like creepy, like
Hmm.
spiritual kind of like supernatural shit.
I don't like a
So I,
lot of possession movies, but I think it's because I was raised Catholic, so it's like attached to my
Yeah.
roots.
yeah.
Or like
I was
or
like,
like
Yeah.
I struggle
demonic kind
because
of stuff though.
I'm one of the 50%, right? I'm the no longer a religious person, but still very much like
But I'm
that
not
might be
gonna mess
Like
with
possible.
shit
that.
can happen.
Like,
Yeah, and I'm
honestly,
not.
yeah, I feel strongly in my spiritual beliefs, but I am not gonna mess with the Ouija board, is all I'm
Yeah,
saying. Like,
yeah.
do not bring that in my house. Please get
We're not doing
GTFO.
that. We're not doing
Mhm.
that.
I literally have one in
Relax.
this room. So
No, Greg, I'm out.
Not in my house, Greg. Not in
That's
my house.
I'm
Mm-mm.
not that's not happening. So so this has been
Where's the
like
holy salt?
so this has been literally around forever. So we're gonna talk about possession and we're gonna talk about exorcism here. So for those of you who like don't know the exact definition, exorcism is a prayer or ritual that is meant to expel spirits. And I'm saying this because everybody probably has an idea of what an exorcism is based off of the movies that we were just talking about. And it is not necessary in all of these different cultures across the world. It does not necessarily look like this like really aggressive like tainted thing, right? And actually, the first known instance of exorcism being performed dates well back into like 2000 to 1700 BCE in ancient Mesopotamia. So, ancient Mesopotamia actually believed that illness was caused by the supernatural. So they thought that medicine and treatments like putting a cast on and stuff like that, that was all good, but you also needed magical spells done alongside that, and incantations in order to like cast off whatever bad luck or bad juju you had on you to get hurt in the first place, right? They thought that sickness and illness was from the gods, but that sometimes the gods got a little too zealous, and then you would need to go see a doctor because you needed to end your suffering.
Randy, sometimes the gods get a little too excited, and when that happens, you have to go see a sorcerer. It just is what you do.
It just is. It just is. And so, how do we know all of this? Well, Mesopotamia was so serious about all of this work that they did that, and their belief system, that they actually wrote it down in instructional tablets. So there are a collection of tablets from Mesopotamia, like written in stone, that these, and they would call them exorcists, that the were rituals that these exorcists would perform to kind of rid you of these bad spirits and or this bad luck. It is, I need to be really clear that everything I'm talking about at the beginning right now is not painted with exorcism from Catholicism or any sort of like Christianity
This is
religion.
like
It's
ancient Middle East. It's like
right.
Assyrian, like Babylonian
Yes.
kind of stuff. So like
Yeah.
I've seen the tablets at like the British Museum. Like there's a lot of fucked up shit with the British Museum, the Elgin
Mhm.
marbles, like the shit
Mhm.
that, they have acquired and how they got that. But it was really fucking cool to see all the tablets and the Rosetta Stone. You
Yeah.
know.
I mean, I would love to see it. That's amazing.
Yeah, that was like one of the best parts of my trip to London was
The
that.
British
But like
Museum.
but we're talking like Mesopotamian, like
Yeah,
sort of like
right.
almost like
Which,
early like Hebrew like tribal god kind of shit.
right. Yeah, like almost 2000 years
Like we
before
worship the
Christ
storm
even
god,
shows up. Yeah.
right? Because
So
like
they don't think of exorcisms or spirits the way that like the Catholics do, right? So it's not like a good versus evil. Demons aren't like cast off from Satan. They're just these spiritual entities that are around that sometimes might, you know, end up causing you some sort of bad luck or illness or something, and you just have to work around it. It's just another like, it's just like physics. You just got to work around it, and it is what it is. But it didn't have like any sort of motivation.
It is what it is, Greg. You just get possessed sometimes.
uh,
That's just
well, I
life.
mean like dude, I mean like in the ancient world there's all sorts of like amulets and stuff that's like you might write this thing that's like that's a phrase where like this god'll do something for you like to help you or protect you or something.
Hmm.
It's a very different world.
And that continued. So not only did that work out like that in Mesopotamia, but like magical incantations and that kind of usage alongside medicine was really a part of a lot of belief systems, as I've already said. And the next one that kind of came into that were the Egyptians, who really believed in exorcisms and spiritual pieces. They actually wrote over 1,000 texts on exorcisms and like how to perform it to rid your body of these excess spirits, right?
The Egyptians were doing everything, dissecting, exorcisms.
Dying from smallpox, like
They did it all.
They're honestly, their dynasty is outrageous. If you look at how long the Egyptians held power, it's insane. Okay. So like that's kind of like the basis of a lot of exorcism and the rituals and these ideas of possession, right? And I think the next part that I'm going to go into is now we're going to kind of like introduce Catholicism and the first instance of in the Bible of Jesus doing anything like that is he's ironically casting, right? He's casting demon, the legion, into swine,
pigs.
into a herd of
Yeah.
pigs.
You know what? I've actually been to the place that like people are like, this is the spot where that happened, or like the place where they think it
Greg,
is.
where
Um,
haven't you been?
so I tried archaeology in undergrad because I was like,
Of
maybe I want to
course.
be an archaeologist. So I went on a Christian dig to
Of
Jordan,
course. Of course you did.
which was a very like I have some interesting thoughts about that, like having processed that, like because we were digging at the site that they were like, this is what's proven, this is where Sodom happened, like Sodom and Gomorrah. Um, but that was
The Sodom and Gomorrah
the
from
Sodom, like the
the
pillar, the
Bible.
fire, the Lot's wife turned it into the pillar
Salt.
of salt. Like, yeah, like that's the
Wow.
site that I was seeing. I actually have like some pottery shards that I brought home from that. So I have like Middle Eastern ancient pottery because they were like, this is junk. Like it's not like part of a complete piece. Like it goes
No
on a
one
scrap
cares
pile.
about these pieces that
Nobody,
no
no,
one.
like there's so many. So I have like a couple handles from like old like pottery and stuff. But we went to this place, it's called Gadara or Unkais on the northern border of like Jordan, like right across from Syria. So we saw Syria, like they were like, we're standing on the hill and they're like, look down at that valley, that's Syria. We can't go there, because this is in like 2007 when Bush was doing his Middle East tour. So I didn't get to go to Jerusalem because Bush was there. And they were like, we're closing the borders, like it's gonna take all day to go across. Like you can't go there. But it's a really cool, like old Roman-ish ruin. I have pictures of it, literally. It's saved on my computer from going there.
Greg, that's kind of wild because all I'm thinking about is that you said 2007 and I'm thinking about where I was in 2007 and I'm like, I was a child.
Karina, what a weird transition.
I was in seventh grade, Randy, and I'm just thinking about Greg is like
I
freaking
was like,
Indiana
meanwhile, I'm still
Jonesing.
stuck on people trying to be like, I know where a herd of pigs was cast off 2,000 years
It's
ago.
like, oh yeah, I've been there. Well, but that's like
That
the,
Bush
there's all
told
the,
me
we
all
also
I
Randy,
went to the
needed to
sometimes
place
you
where
know.
just
supposedly
wear a
Moses
pig.
saw the promised land, right? There's also the place where like, this is where Jesus prayed in the garden. Like, I take all of that with a grain of
This is where he
salt,
prayed,
but
Greg.
like Holy Land tours are what they are, it's to show Christians all the cool shit that they, it fulfills all the fantasies.
I really feel like this podcast is so like we tell you who we are. There is no questioning who we are as people. We are very strongly who. There is no question why we have an FBI agent. I didn't.
It's like,
Right? Oh my God.
but
No,
also it's like
Randy, I
anytime
just
you are like where
edited.
there's a point of connection with someone, it's like the fact that you knew about the dude who like was experimenting with the cowpox. I'm like,
Oh yeah. Hmm.
I don't know who this guy is, but he's like big and important in like your background and shit that you've learned about.
One of my favorite things about today's episode has been that like we all came at this from like three different angles, right? Like we all have come at it from a different place and we have touched like a lot of the same things and I think that is hilarious. Like unintentional because we didn't even know what Randy was talking about. And it is funny how you've tied into a lot of what
No,
we've
I
already
think it's
talked
a really
about.
good thing. I didn't even mention like there's a whole bit about like that I talk about like demonic possession as distinct from all sorts of other things in my witchcraft class that I teach.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
I've read a bunch of sources on demonic possession in Europe in like the early modern period, like
Mm-hmm.
1300 to like
Mm-hmm.
1800, you
And
know.
they're doing shit. So like, okay. So enter in Christianity, right? Jesus does the casting. The church and Christianity has a very strange relationship with possession, okay? So they encourage you to get an exorcist. Literally every single Catholic website that I went on that I did during this research because I was just like, let's see what some of
Like
what
if I
the
need an
Catholic
exorcist,
Church.
like how easy is it to get one?
Well, no, that wasn't what I was seeing if they had any stats like
Greg, so if I need one, where do I go?
No, I mean like that's just an interesting way to approach it. So it's like if I
yeah.
wanted an exorcism, how quickly can I? It's like how quickly can I DoorDash an exorcist to
I
me?
d-
You know?
that
I think it
it
depends
gets
on who
like,
you are getting to get your exorcism.
and it goes all the way to the
Oh,
Vatican.
there's
Like
like
it's
quality tiers, like.
yeah.
Well, like,
And
are you going to get a regular church or the Catholic church? Because the Catholics are the OGs.
But I'm also thinking like, is this like a notary public thing for the Catholics where it's like you get notarized? It's just you're just like, dude, if you need something notarized, I got you. Like if you need an exorcism, I've got you.
no, it's not. There are criteria. You have
There
to
are
meet.
rules.
There are, and I'm going to read them to you, but not yet. So the Catholics have the Christians in general, but specifically the Catholics have a very strange relationship with possession because on like I said, on every website it was like, yes, possession is 100% real, like it is biblically based. Like there was all of this stuff and I was like, wow, not a single one of them mentions any of the people being possessed 2000 years before Jesus even showed up, but okay. Like we're just gonna act like the very first possession happened, or the very first exorcism happened when that occurred. That's fine. We're gonna keep going. And they push for you to believe in this, but they don't want you to believe too much. Because if you believe too much and you start doing your own research, you're going to find that there are other rituals to get rid of and perform an exorcism, right? So it's like this really hard push where the Catholic Church literally in an article they were like, we don't want to push too hard on this though because it'll push people back into paganism, and they don't want that. They think of exorcisms and possession still as being pagan even though it's this deeply biblical event. So they have like already their own like push and pull with exorcism and possession within the Catholic Church, which I just thought was really
They're also figuring a
wild.
lot of shit out at that time. Like I've read a lot about that period of church history, and like they're like, is Jesus one person or part of a trinity? Like that's like still not settled at that point, you know?
Which is crazy. You think that they would have the key component down.
Oh no, that takes like hundreds of years to figure to like settle.
Yeah. And I would argue that it's still not because that's why we have so many uh branches, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so the Catholics come in and the Catholics are like really serious about what they're doing. You know, they're really serious. And they come up with the religious authorities within the church come up with this list of like four things that have to be true in order for it to be a real possession, okay? So it's demonologists then use those this list to decide whether or not this person is possessed and does need a priest. So the first thing is xenoglossy, which is the ability to speak or fluently comprehend languages that the person has never learned, right? So like often in the movies it's Latin, like all of a
Mhm.
sudden they can speak Latin and they never were able to before.
Yeah.
The second thing is clairvoyance, So knowledge of a secret, private, or distant event outside of their immediate surroundings. The third thing would be superhuman strength. So obviously, we all know what that is, just strength that cannot be explained by their obvious muscle mass or
I've read
anything
that in
like
like
that.
witchcraft trials, like records and stuff that I've read, where like they talk about like a young girl throwing like two grown men off of her and stuff, like
Yep.
when she's in this like contortions and stuff.
Yep.
Okay, so a girl lifts and stretches and now it's an
Eh.
issue? You can't do nothing in this town anymore. My God.
You can't be wiry, that's for sure. Because if they're like, you have no
Hmm.
muscles on your body, you're cooked. Cooked. And the last thing is aversion to the sacred. So obviously this is like holy water, the cross,
Crosses.
um, Latin prayers, any of that. If there is like obvious aversion to that, that is a sign of demonic possession. Okay. So the Catholics have this like whole situation, and that's how they operate for the majority of the colonized areas, everywhere that they go into and convert, that is, they carry this also with them. So with like mingles a lot with other cultures, you see it come out in like a bunch of different ways, like this idea of possession. It really permeates itself, especially in the North and South Americas, because possession was like really heavily distributed um in European belief systems in like the tropical belt, but they were all in communication with each other, right? So it kind of makes sense that they would influence each other in some way, shape, or form. The Americas did have, I'm not going to say that they didn't, but they had less possession, like as a part of their cultural belief system, but that changed once colonization happened and we had more introduction of these other ideas and people. So, the one story that I really wanted to tell you guys about today is in occurs in 1599, okay? So, it has been, do you know the story I'm about to tell, Greg?
I don't know if I know it, so
Okay.
I'm interested. Like I've read a couple of books that kind of might touch on some of this, but it's been a while, so
So there have been a lot of like instances of uh possession right now. And in the late 1590s, like 1596, 1597 area and on, there's like this religious war that's happening um around like the Catholics and the French Protestants, and it's like this whole big mess. And eventually by 1599, the Catholics have kind of won for now. The war has ended. They're the ones that have won. And King Henry IV has gone back and forth. Honestly, King Henry IV flip-flops on his Protestant Catholic, like he kind of chooses his flavor of the week. And at this point in time, he is Catholic. Okay. This is important because a, a French family in the like rural area, some rural village in France, claim makes a claim then that their daughter is possessed, right? And this girl's possessed, and they're like, "Oh my God, she's possessed. We need help." Blah 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 blah. And the spirit that she's possessed with is saying that she's going to eat all of the people who sided with the Catholics in France. They have a specific name. It's like the Huguenots or something.
Huguenot. Yeah.
Huguenots,
Hmm.
that the all of them belong to this spirit, right? So King Henry's like, well, I don't know about this. And I think we probably shouldn't be dealing with this kind of situation anyway, because we just ended these religious wars, right? He was not interested in going back and starting this again. And they had already begun like testing out some of the possessions, right? Like whether or not these possessions were actually happening. Had been calling them trick trials. So
I like that they called them tricks.
trick trials, yes, that's what they called them. And so King Henry the Fourth was like, okay, this is like a really delicate time, and the news had already spread like wildfire throughout France. And he's like, we're going to have her exorcised, but I'm going to give you a secret mission to find out whether or not she actually is possessed. So you're not going to use holy water. You're going to recite the Aeneid, it was like the Iliad, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. Uh in Latin rather than the Lord's Prayer. He sent men who were not priests. He had them like do this whole setup, which basically ends up being one of the first blinded studies. So this was and it really kind of establishes the placebo effect, right? That is all what's happening here in this clinical trial about a possession of a girl in France. So this girl gets exercised every day. And that's the other thing I think is crazy is that whenever we see exorcisms like on TV, it's like one and done, or if it's like really bad, a couple of times. This girl was getting exercised every day. They were like just doing what they could. And when she would respond to things, like she would writhe when they were reading the Aeneid in Latin, or she wouldn't scream if the holy water came out of a container she didn't recognize. But if the regular water was in the container she was told was holy water, she would scream. So, like, all of this stuff really fed into the idea. And so King Henry the fourth like was like, okay, great. So as soon as it was done, he released all of this evidence that it was a false demonic possession, and they couldn't continue to like claim that was what was going on. And it became actually one of the founding clinical trials for how this kind of phenomenon was handled for then the next few centuries, right? Going all the way up to 17, let me switch over to my other thing. Going all the way up to 1784 with Benjamin Franklin, who then yes, yes, who then puts in place the true first ever placebo-controlled medical experiment to debunk the healing practices of mesmerism. Do you guys know what mesmerism
Like
is?
hypnotizing people.
Hypnotizing came out of this. So
Okay.
basically, Mesmer is the name of this man who he says that he has developed like specific methods to sway people and mesmerize things. But he claimed that he had found this new fluid, and it was like the fluid of life. So like it lived in animals, it lived in plants, it lived in people. Um, and it
Where
was
is
in
this fluid? And is it blood? Like, what is it? Like
I
the
no, he
fluid
claimed
of
it was a
life.
new fluid. So it wasn't blood because no one could see it. No one could see it except for him. But
Wait, no one could see it but this one guy.
he
This sounds kind of like
yeah,
you're talking about French history. There's a French tradition of like, with tied into Catholicism where like I think it's Clovis, one of the early French kings in like the 600s or 700s, like is anointed with this oil, and like the whole miracle of it is just like the oil never runs out. And so every king after him is anointed with the same oil because the vial never runs empty. And I'm like, surely people were like,
fill it up.
the priest is filling it up in the back, right? Like
Right.
this seems like this wouldn't be a thing, but it apparently was.
Well, so this guy rose to fame because he said that he could perform exorcisms um without a priest. He didn't need Jesus.
Oh, that's controversial, Randy.
It was.
That's controversial. That's
Mm-hmm.
wild.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he predominantly worked with women. He claimed that it was a lot of the like the same like fainting and crying and like all of the stuff. He was like, I can help you. So he does this thing. It's mesmerizing objects, and anyway, it like you can be treated by like having this magnetized power, and Benjamin Franklin was really not about it at all. And then it ended up that they commissioned, like I said, another placebo trial where they would have people go in, except it was a truly blinded one. So like they didn't know that, like neither side knew that they were fucking around about in these treatments. You know what I mean? They were like sending in spies. They were like having people like fake practitioners come in and like mesmerize people. And like it's this whole thing. And so it ended up being, obviously, it ended up being completely debunked. But that whole trial was based off of that, like, first placebo trial was based off of that rudimentary placebo trial on that was done by King Henry IV. And all of it was because both times it was because of exorcisms that they were like, no, this is sus. This is really sus. We're gonna go do something about this. I don't like the look of it. And that's how we're advancing medical science. Now, double-blinded placebo trials are like the golden standard in a lot of cases for psychological experimentation and understanding what's going on.
Randy, that was a
That's
whole roller
wild.
coaster. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I'm like, that's how we like is that's how we establish the standard for like a
Yes.
double blind study.
That's
Yep.
wild. Yeah.
We established the
That goes back to
placebo effect.
Franklin.
Literally, everything that we have understood about the placebo effect came from, it started with demon possession and exorcism. I will say, I read so many weird things. Now I'm just gonna give you the weird stuff that I gleaned while I was doing my research for this because there were some really fucking weird things. One, I was reading an article in Psychology Today or Psychology Now, I want to say. I want to read this to you. No, Psychiatric News is what it was. It's this last part. I was like, "Oh, this man really wants something to happen." It goes, scientists continue to argue against possession as an etiological factor responsible for mental illness, but the fact remains that refuting something that science cannot prove is inappropriate on the basis of our limited understanding of the world and its creations. There should always be room for new ideas, theories, and beliefs. In the aforementioned context, it may be acceptable to say that jinn may be a scientific entity, which, if understood by more psychiatrists, could revolutionize the field of psychiatry and human behavior. So let's continue the journey in search of a scientific basis for demonic possession. And that was published in
Like
the
recently where he's
journal.
like, guys, we can't rule demons out. We gotta still
Yes.
like look, you can say
Yes.
whatever you want, but like we still have to consider the fact that demons might might be a thing.
I think
Yes.
we should always give it a 2% chance, just in case. We don't want to prove it all out of the realm of possibility. Electrons move according to if we're perceiving them or not. And I think
No,
that's a
that
world we
fucked
live
me
in.
up. That
Right.
that
So
information
how
really
you're gonna
fucked
tell
me
me
up.
that's true, but demons aren't real? The
No, that
world is a
information really
mystery.
did fuck me up.
Randy, that was I love where you took it though. Like
Because that's manifestation. That's what that is.
I
Okay,
feel like we
sorry,
took
keep going.
a whole ride to get to science.
I know. But I got there. I got to the clinical trial part.
I liked it. But I could also see the connections with mine where it's like smallpox to inoculation, like demonic
hmm
possession to science.
hmm
It was a wild, wild story, honestly.
Well, I'm telling you guys, I wish I could have put more of these articles into it. The context didn't make sense specifically for the story I was trying to tell, but like the things that psychiatrists are doing around possession is just really interesting. They are really divided, really, really divided on what to do in these contexts. Some
I mean, and
people
I
are like
understand
fully
it.
commit
Yeah.
them, and some people are like, no, you need to release them to their spiritual guides. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, but
I guess it just depends on the person.
Yeah.
Wow, Randy. Well, I'm glad you took it somewhere crazy because I did not expect that at all. That's not what I thought was going to happen. Anywho, as always, thank you guys for watching us, listening to us, and just enjoying another episode of the Sip and Saga Society. We really love doing this. It's a fun time for us because we love to talk and we love to research and read books. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to support our historical endeavors, please tell a friend about our show. Share our show, let people know. Or remember, you can also subscribe to keep up to. Oh my God. Remember to subscribe so you can keep up with our latest episodes. Sometimes you may not catch our posts on our socials, and our subscriptions are always up to date. It's time to go. So, goodbye, guys. Thank you for joining us. I was like, what did we even start talking about? It was medical stuff. And remember, we have a book club. Please join us if you want to continue having some conversations. But for now, goodbye.
bye bye
Bye.
now. Bye bye.
Yay, everyone remembered today.